Hi, this is Joe Chambers. Welcome to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage, the Vault Series. Today's clip was shot back in around 2005. Can't remember exactly what the date was, but Hal Blaine invited me to his house out in Palm Desert, California. He was doing an interview for Modern Drummer magazine with Jim Keltner, Chad Smith, Earl Palmer. And he wanted to know if I wanted to just video it for the archives for the museum. So it was great. They talked about things that probably were not totally politically correct, but great listening. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. Once again, Hal Blaine, Earl Palmer, Chad Smith, and Jim Keltner.
Anyway, continue. So the music got more sophisticated.
Yep.
And we got to play with all these people that we just loved, you know, that we dreamt about. And I've said in the past, you know, most of us were nightclub musicians making lucky to be making 100 a week, and we fell into this vat of chocolate. No pun intended. But here we,
that's not funny.
but here we were, all of a sudden we're making 1,000 a day. It just was
It's just
inconceivable.
timing and everything, the music business.
We're a backbeat,
and
man.
getting double scale.
Getting double scale.
We're a
And
backbeat.
not back sticking each other. Because if he couldn't do a date, he would call me and say, I know they're going to call you, but I get double scale. He would never tell me, get double scale.
Right.
What are you telling me? I get double scale. So I wouldn't undercut him to try to take his job. You know?
Yeah.
We help each other do that.
That's why it's Hal and Earl here right now instead of.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And you know what? Another reason is we hung out together all day because we were in the next studio half of the time from the other. You know what I mean?
But we were always straight too, reliable. I always said R&R meant reliability, responsibility. We were there on time, and we did the gig, and they had hit records.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Well, that was the reason you guys
think
know
about us too.
the hit records.
We got to be kind of guys where the other musicians used to follow along us how we felt about various things. And for example, if a guy is going to run overtime, you know, he's got just another take to get his record, and we might know the man just mortgaged his house on the damn record. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And everybody would say, everybody look at us. Well, are we going to give him another take? And everybody look at Hal or me, depending on who was on the date. And we say, hell yeah, we're going to give him another take because ain't nobody going to go to the union now. And then you're going to keep working. Everybody going to work for this guy because everybody helped him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's smart.
But you don't well, you know, you get to know all of these guys because if I'm on the date, I'm either the leader, or if he's on the date, he's the leader. Some days neither one of us on, but we're the contractor. And the guy would appreciate when you make sure that all the rest of these 30 guys will give him another take. And this is the one he's been looking for all day. And he'll never forget that.
That's right. You did Little Richard and all that before you got to Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That
then
was
Hal,
perfect.
what did you? Did you listen
Well,
to
I
those
was
records?
working-
How did you know about the backbeat and everything?
I was working with the thing where I got into, started with rockabilly with a kid by the name of Tommy Sands.
Yeah.
And his
That's
little
right.
group.
Yeah.
His little group were from Texas, and they were called, it was Tommy Sands and the Texas Raiders, with Eddie Edwards and Leon Bagwell, and these were the people that we were on the road with the Platters. And those were my first major recordings. I had recorded in the early 50s in San Bernardino when I got home from the Army, and I was doing, not dates, but I was, you know, helping out. A friend of mine was a big songwriter, Bill Bellman, who recently passed away. And at the radio station, there was a studio, and I used to go in and help him, you know, make some records. He just wanted to be a songwriter, and he wanted to be a publisher, and he became that. It was Tommy Sands that I started meeting
That's who I
the
first
people
knew
at
Hal.
Capitol. Yeah,
Besides the Diamonds.
right.
No, I knew he was with the Diamonds first, but I later found out that he had been with Tommy Sands.
And I also had been going on the road playing big band stuff with Patti Page.
Oh, yeah.
And that was great stuff. And also, I did a lot of early recordings with Patti at Columbia. And she was a major big star, you know, with
At Columbia, yes.
that
indeed.
doggy in the window.
Yes, indeed. That was a big record anyway for anybody.
Exactly.
But those recordings didn't have background.
Yeah, Tommy Sands was where you really started with the tune.
Yeah, he was doing,
Not too heavy.
It was
Rockabilly.
cute, you know, it was
Yeah.
rockabilly.
Rockabilly.
Yeah, rockabilly, right.
exactly, and it was a single or a double back, ba 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 ba.
That's what it probably was then, huh?
That's what it was in
Yeah.
the beginning, you know. Ooh wee, blue ribbon baby, ooh wee, whatever. And also, another tie-in family-wise was Colonel Parker was managing Tommy. And
was
that's how I,
Oh,
yeah, and that's how I met, that's how it happened for me with Elvis, that
Yeah.
Elvis didn't like strangers around him, and they knew that I could do the job. That's how that happened. Because when I first got the call, I was working as an actor at Paramount. And Phil Coggin,
Oh, the contract,
that was the contractor in those days. We were trying to think of his name the other
Phil
day.
Coggin.
It was Phil Coggin,
K-A-G-H-N.
right. And he said, we can't use him with Elvis because he's an actor, he's not a musician. They had to convince him that I could go in and do the job.
Yeah.
And from there, Coggin used me all the time. I was working at Paramount all the time.
Huh. God, I didn't even
So
know you
it's
started
wild.
off as an actor.
Yeah, I was doing a movie with the kid that got killed in the garage, and they killed him. And he played the Gene Krupa story.
Oh, Sal
So
Mineo.
many.
Sal Mineo.
Mineo.
He was a nice kid,
Oh,
man.
yeah, I knew him, man.
Sal Mineo and Yul Brynner was in the movie. Jack Warden. I mean, I was really working with some heavyweights. It
Were you
was
doing
great.
lines? I mean, not doing lines, that's a terrible thing.
What are you trying to say, that I was doing lines?
Were you,
What?
were you, okay. Okay.
The one on this
were
side
you-
said-
Cut line.
No, I was doing,
You have some.
believe it or
that
not,
work either.
Yeah, right.
I was doing long shot stunts for Sal Mineo, because we were both sort of the same color.
Oh, you're way bigger than Sal Mineo. Sal Mineo was like
No,
this.
but I'm talking about from a distance.
Oh,
And then they
Now.
when they needed a guy to get up on the top of the army truck or something, you know, long shots. We had airplanes shooting at us, all kinds of stuff. We were out in the desert in Barstow for a couple of
yeah,
weeks,
that's-
3 weeks.
That was the
It was wild.
The
It was
home-
a wild time.
town of all of the outdoor stunts for the movies.
And I gotta tell you, one of the great stories is that Yul Brynner, who became the king of Siam after he did it, and that's how he spoke. What is it? What do you want?
You turned into him?
He's still
turned
talking
into
like
it.
that?
Unbelievable. And, you know, we used to be sitting in the trailer playing cards or something, and he'd say, well, how many do you want? He was like a Jew from Brooklyn. You want 4? What do you take? I mean, I'm raising you. And there'd be a knock at the trailer doors. What is it?
Back in the
Mr.
character.
Mr. Brenner, they need you on the set. I'll be right there, boy. Well,
You serious?
I'm serious.
Oh, that's so.
He hired a kid, a high school kid, to carry a big umbrella over him so the sun never hit it.
No, he
And
didn't.
this kid, every once in a while, he'd have to go to the bathroom, you know, he'd run off to the bathroom, come right back. But at that moment, Yul Brynner would step up. Boy! He'd say, he just went to the
Where's the
bathroom, he'll be
umbrella?
right in the
There's the
bathroom.
umbrella.
Back in 1 second. I paid this boy to be here, he's not here.
Temperamental.
So after we're back doing interiors at Paramount, and the other thing is that Yul Brynner insisted on 65 degrees. They used to bring in refrigeration units that were as big as the goddamn
Stabilizing
stages,
the character.
and you'd be freezing in there.
What, he didn't want to sweat? Or?
He just
Yeah.
had to be that way.
Yeah, you
But
got
one
David.
day, One day, we're doing these interiors, and he had a guy that worked for him, like a secretary. he comes in, he says, oh, Mr. Brenner, this package came from you from Barstow. I go, what is it? You know, he said, it's from that boy that was your umbrella boy. He says, thank you. Oh, how nice, what a nice boy. And they opened it up, and they took out this bronze thing, and it was the greatest, we almost died. It was hysterical, man. So this kid, I pay him $100 a week, $100 a week. And the studio was paying him, you know. Neil Brenner did. Anyway, that's a whole nother
That's a whole
thing.
other stuff. Hey.
Whole nother thing.
A lot of background.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, depending on some of the people you know, that's another background, man, that you get to know that were now giant stars.
Well, that helped me in movies too. I mean, working in film, I get to meet a lot of people, a lot of different people, and you learn the business. You know, you learn the sideline and some of that stuff we did with Elvis, you know, Return to Sender, where we were the nightclub band. That we had pre-recorded the stuff, but
Right.
you have to learn to do that stuff.
Yeah. One thing would
Anyway.
cross over into the other. It was,
Exactly. It all
Yeah.
meshes.
Right. When you know, when did you feel that things started to change and not in a you know in a sort of, was there a time when you felt that you know that obviously it was the '60s and the early '70s, when and or why do you feel like the industry changed?
It was electronics
There you go.
that really kind of started it, right?
Yes. Electronics, and you can't stop electronics. Because when you do, they just bring up another more sophisticated computer.
You get a shock.
You know what I'm saying? You can't stop electricity. That's what I mean by when you got an electronic drum.
Mm-hmm.
You got some drums that is electronic. You can bet them producers gonna find a way to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
use less of your drummers.
So it was Roger Lynn basically changed.
Huh?
Roger Lynn.
Roger Lynn with the Glenn.
Roger
And
Lynn.
when was that?
I saw that.
That was, I'm trying to think of that one too.
Well, before that was the Syndromes.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
heard those,
yeah,
they were terrible.
They were just an additional sound,
Yeah, I never did play that.
milk commercials and things.
The other thing that I found out, I knew from the very beginning, when I saw this movie, Chariots of Fire,
Mm-hmm.
and when the guy won an Oscar for writing all of the music, recording all of the music himself, one guy, I said, that's it. Ain't nowhere in the world they're gonna need any more 5 or 6 drummers.
I wonder if you got double scale. That's how we all started, you know, Glenn Campbell, Leon Russell. There were 5 or 6, 7 of us that just did,
Do demo.
we were doing demos. And Leon, Glenn Campbell could sound like anybody practically. So the songwriters, that's the way the business was in those days.
Yeah.
Songwriters came to you to do their demo so that they could present it to somebody at Capitol and Nat King Cole or whoever was a big star in those days, you know, Frank Sinatra, whatever. And if they could sell it, they'd do the record just like we did the demo practically, you know.
Right.
The same thing. And pretty soon it was rock and roll came along and they said, well, who are the rock and roll players? And they said, well, these guys do the demos. And we started getting calls as a,
that's
in quotes,
fun.
rock and roll
Rock and roll band.
players. Yeah.
This would probably be a good time to say that that was my first gig that I got from Hal.
Yeah.
Hal,
Jimmy
when-
Webb, right?
Yeah. Hal told him to call me, and I don't know what prompted you to do that because I had no.
Well, his favorite was Jimmy Gordon.
You're right, right.
It was really his favorite. That's when it just killed me. I overheard him one time talking to somebody, and somebody mentioned Jimmy Gordon, and they didn't know that I was in earshot. And Jimmy Webb, who had taken me all over the world, man, recording and, you know, gave me vacations and how he loved me. And I drove him in his wedding procession and all of that. I heard him say, oh yeah, Jimmy Gordon's my fave.
You're crushed.
Well, you played on all his hits, though, didn't you?
Crushed.
But you played on all of his major hits.
Absolutely.
On the
I mean,
big-
that's
yeah,
why,
big stuff.
that's why it hurt so bad, you know? And I should have said,
And you wonder, well, what could
That's
he have
not
played
good.
that you hadn't played? You know what I mean?
no, I mean, at Jimmy Webb, not at Jimmy Gordon.
No,
Jimmy
right.
Gordon was
Responsibility and what you called it a minute ago? I was
reliability.
late 15 minutes to that session. It was at TT&G with Ami, you know, the Israeli guy doing
upstairs.
Donnie.
and all of Hollywood's finest, the strings, in those days, live dates, everybody there on the floor in that big room. And I didn't have cartage yet. I didn't know what cartage was. So I'm carrying my drums.
You're carrying your
I'm carrying
drums,
my
and
drums
they all
up
sitting
on
there
the
with the violins
elevator.
waiting for you to set
Right,
them
and the
up.
violin, that's the first, when that happens to you, that never happens again. That's the first and last time you'll ever see violin players looking at you like,
You're the only person you get a chance to look down on.
I was setting up my drum. Can you imagine it? I was setting up my drums in front of all these important people, man, and Jimmy Webb standing on the podium and feeling sorry for me, you know. And I'm setting up my drums, my own drums, and I'm sweating. Man, I'll never forget that. But thank God, because I prayed then, and I still pray every time I sit down to play. I got through that and made it through.
Did it good.
And what's his name? It's Al Casey in the
guitar player?
little coffee lounge was saying. I heard him say, "Who's the kid on the drums?" And somebody said, "I don't know. He's good, isn't he?" And then somebody else said, "Hal sent it."
Kid.
Right, I was just, you know, and I remember when I heard that, man, my whole body just went. They think I'm good. They think I'm good.
I own the world.
Yeah, man.
Now tomorrow I will know I'm good.
Yeah.